I'm Jay Horton. I make movies that make money. This is how. Today, I'm rebroadcasting a video from filmmaker Jeff Macantyre over at Movie Marketing Makeover. A few months ago, he released a video that breaks down the average earnings of over 1,000 independent films for Q1 of 2021. And having seen numbers myself from over 2,000 films in 2022, I can say that this info is still incredibly relevant today. But do keep in mind that his information here is coming from a single sample source that deals predominantly with lower budgeted films. This is not necessarily representative of the film industry as a whole. After the video, Jeff joins me for a brief update and how these numbers have affected his release strategies today. Let's do the video thing.
I don't know about you, but I've just had it with the generalizations. You know, the indie film is a raging septic tank fire to, oh, you want to know how much my film made? Well, come to my condo in Malibu and we'll talk over Cosmos. I mean, how helpful is that? For far too long, creators have been in the dark, totally clueless to one fundamental question. How much do indie films really make? Oh my God, getting a straight answer to this is just confounding. It's impossible. It's like asking a California bride how much she weighs, or a Floridian about their vaccination status. Good frickin' luck. It's a question that's been shrouded in secrecy for too long. And I guess I've always known this, but it really didn't hit home until I received my Q1 earnings statement from my distributor. This was my first earnings statement, and looking at these numbers, and not just my film, but all the other films on this list, was really a sock to the gut. It was a sobering experience, and I just really feel a duty to peel back this steel curtain on the truth of what, you know, the profits are like for indie films in America in 2021. I'm going to share the Q1 of 2021 profits from 1,658 indie films. Now, full disclosure, these aren't films from my distributor because they've asked us not to share that data, and I respect that. Now, I will be sharing my earnings from my little documentary, no problem. But I did reach out to a colleague who had access to a much deeper pool of data on indie films. So he graciously kind of scrubbed the names, anonymatized the data, and that's fine. We really just want the dollars and cents. What are indie films making for their makers in 2021? I think you know where this train is headed, and it's not to Moneytown. I mean, no one ever watched the Titanic and was shocked by the outcome. Wow, didn't see that coming. But first, a shout to our sponsors, booze and antidepressants. Make sure to stock up before you continue watching this video. Well, yes, I will plunge you into a momentary state of depression. I hope to pull you up from the depths of filmmaking despair and turn this around with some key takeaways. What do some of the top earning indie films have in common? What are they doing right? And what should you start doing now that you have all this data? You ready? Okay, let's dive in to Q1 earnings from 1,658 films for 2021. The number of films earning $1 for a 3-month period is 157. Under $5, 277. 391 made under $10. 544 under 20, 764 under 50, 924 under $100, and wow, my lips are getting tired. Look at the screen, it's all there. The key thing to keep in mind, this is Q1. What does Q1 mean? It means the first 3 months of this year, 2021. That's 3 months. So you look at these numbers and you may be impressed. Oh, wow, Jimmy made $23 in Q1. Not bad. Well, that's for 3 months. So what's 23 divided by 3? Why did I pick 23? Damn it, that's such a shitty number to have to come up with a number. So while you may be blown away that Jimmy made $27 with his little indie thriller, but that's over 3 months. So really, Jimmy's hauling in 9 US bills every month. We press on for you percentage aficionados. From the bottom up, Films making under $15,000 over a 3-month span, 99%. Okay, stop right here. 99% of 1,658 independent films make under $15,000. That's under $5,000 a month. Now, that's not bad. If you're pulling in $5K, that's pretty good. But then let's keep working our way up this sad list. 98%, see that huge cliff right there, make under 10 grand. And then, half, 56%, a little more than half of this sample make under $100. So $33 and some change a month is your haul, your big Vegas score for your little indie film. I told you I suck. What a Jeffrey Downer. Now let's turn this tragedy train around and look at some winners here. 170 films made over $1,000. 39 made over $5,000. Just look up the list. 7 made over $25,000, and all the way at the end. And one lucky, charmed filmmaker pulled in over $60,000 in Q1 of 2021. $20K a month, living the dream off indie filmmaking. Only one out of 1,658, but still. And how could that be you? Well, in a second, we're going to get into some takeaways. I dug into the top 20 films just to see, are there any commonalities? Did success leave clues for some of us? Some interesting trends appeared. But before we get to those, I know you're all dying to know, well, how much did your little doc make? So the big reveal, my documentary netted me an impressive $49.22. And then after fees, I was left with $39.38. Yes, indie film alive and well in the USA in 2021. So sharing these numbers wasn't meant to make the pharmaceuticals richer and drive you to buy more happy pills. No. I hopefully will arm you with some actionable advice, how we all could maybe stand a fighting chance for our next film. I dug into the top 20 films to see what they had in common. What were they doing right, or at least different from some of the other films? Out of the top 20, 18 were urban-themed romance or crime films. Each one of the top 10 had a B+ level actor or actors in them, all with a healthy social media following. One actor actually brought 1.6 million Facebook followers to the table. That's huge when you're trying to get the word out. A lot of people think reviews are a big factor in scoring a big payday. Well, check this out. Out of the top 20, they kind of were all over the board. Some had 20 reviews and one had 8,700 Amazon reviews. But the majority were under 250 reviews. And the number one film on this list even had less than 100 reviews. I know a lot of filmmakers struggle with which social platform should I spend the most time on. Well, it all depends on the demographics of your niche, your audience, where are they hanging out. That's where you need to be. But once again, out of these top 20, it seemed like the majority had more Instagram followers than Facebook followers. 2 or 3 had directors that brought their own massive network with them. One guy had over 10,000 Instagram followers. And once again, that helps. That's just free promotion. For so long, it's been drilled into us that we have to have a good-looking Facebook page, Instagram profile, Twitter, all that jazz. But you know what's really telling? Out of these top 20 films, few had a Facebook page. And the ones that had, it was pretty anemic, and their followers ranged from at the high end 30,000 and then at the lower end around 3,000. So it may not be as important as we think. One of the most important trends this research highlights is the dominance of AVOD, the Tubies, the Plutos. Tubi has eclipsed Amazon by 40% for profit generation for filmmakers. Not surprising, DVDs are dwindling, and broadcast deals, they're only like 5% of what the streamers are paying out. And summing it all up, streamers are responsible for 97% of the income, where DVDs and broadcast are just a measly 3%. Now, before you polish off that bottle of whiskey, now there is some hope. I have some action items for you, because getting fatty liver disease over indie filmmaking, it's just not worth it. Put the bottle down and pick your pen up. I've got 5 action items to put you on the path to profitability. Well, potentially. Number 1, Tame your budget. You need to compress your timelines and finish faster. No more taking 2 years to complete a film. Depending on the genre, depending on the scope of the production, sometimes good is good enough. Turn it out, start marketing it, let it start kicking back some money, and move on to your next project. Number 2, start marketing your film before you even start shooting it. Your goal is to amass a dedicated, rabid fan base who hangs on your every word, who cannot wait till your brilliant film hits their iPhone. I mean, this is what it's about. Having access to people that really know you, trust you, and love you. And having access means getting their email address. It's so important that you control access to your people and not some, social media overlords, the mob bosses who, with a flick of a switch, the change of an algorithm can wipe out your potential to communicate directly with your fans. So start capturing email addresses, build a website, a lead capture page, offer them something interesting in return based on your genre. It could be cool behind the scenes clips, exclusive interviews with actors, the director, artwork, photos of your cast, anything. But you just have to have an enticement to lure them in to give you their precious email address. And then you connect with them and you build a relationship. You're not spammy, you're real, and authentically you send out emails along the way, all up until the run-up of the release of your film. And that keeps them on your hook. So they're hungry and they can't wait to buy now when you release your film. 3, as we've seen, it's key to partner with people who have a decent social standing. And I don't mean moral and pious and highfalutin people. Screw that. I don't care if they're scallywags. But if they bring 250,000 Instagram followers to the table, you ink the deal. You sign the contract. You bring them on your team, because that is potentially money in the bank. Potentially. I mean, all these numbers, at the end of the day, who knows what they ever add up to. But at least it gives you a fighting chance to reach out to a wide pool of people who already have their ears open, and not to have to pay for ads to do that. That's another key point. And another opportunity for partnership is with podcasters in your niche, or journalists, or YouTube channels that talk about horror, zombie, romance films. So engage them early on, and then you've made a friend and an ally for when you really need them. Number 4, we'll get a little Deepak Chopra on you and honor your purpose. Now, you saw I didn't say know your why. I mean, knowing's not enough. Sure, you may know why you want to make something, but what's the true purpose behind that intention? That's really important, because when you're honoring that, you're keeping that squarely in focus through the entire ride. And some of you, and me included, we may start off with the one intention of making a film mainly to get visibility, like if it's a documentary, visibility for the cause, just to get the word out. But something weird happens along the way. We get enamored, we get sucked into the lights and the potential. Oh, this is good. I could build a reputation. I could sock some cash away from this. And then we lose sight of that original intention. And then we're bummed when that's not realized. And then we may misstep and not complete all the necessary actions to honor that purpose of just doing everything in our power to just get the word out, to raise awareness, where our focus now is 100% shifted on the greenbacks. So it's really important to keep that purpose front and center along the entire ride. And number 5 is to stay sober to the realities of this industry. I mean, I just did a big data dump on you, literal, dumping some depressing numbers. But don't let those seal your future. And they're not meant to seal, a sad fate. Not at all. That wasn't the purpose. Hopefully what you'll do with these numbers is make smarter decisions in your production process. What can you do to kind of gin the system in your favor? So doom and gloom be gone. Keep in mind, out of those 1,658 films, there are a small percentage of filmmakers who are making a living, doing what they love, excelling at their craft. Are they complete outliers? Do they hold the magical, mystical keys to this indie filmmaking kingdom? Of course not. They're just doing things probably a little different than we are. And this is key. You gotta embrace this damn cliche and shoot smarter, not harder. That indie film playbook that you've been using since like 2015, you got to shred that bastard and start adopting new principles that take into account this brand new landscape of indie film, from the demographics who consume it to the different delivery methods. If you made it this far and you're not like rocking in the corner, drooling on yourself, mumbling, God, I should have become a plumber, I should have become a plumber. Well, I commend you. You are a badass filmmaker. In no way are these numbers a prediction into your future. Nothing's set in stone here. Use them kind of as an ass kicker. Hopefully they've lit a fuse and planted a seed for you to start thinking, how can I approach this industry from a new angle, which helps put me on a better footing for success.
So I'm here with the creator of the video, Jeff Macantyre. How's it going, Jeff?
Jason, finally nice to virtually connect with you. Great. Thanks for having me.
Virtually connect with you, and I think we're about 10 miles apart now.
Oh my God, we should be wearing masks. That's too close.
Totally. So what was your reasoning to do this video initially?
Well, it was a part of a drinking game. And you know what? I was so frustrated with the lack of transparency in this industry. I mean, any other sector, like let's say I want to become a plumber, a refrigerator repairman. You go online, there's a trade school, and they give you a salary range. This is how much you can make. But the numbers are so ethereal, so fuzzy, so non-existent for indie film. And I was just fed up. So I looked at my reports that I got from, I think, a distributor that both you and I share. And then I reached out to some other friends in the industry, wanted just to compare notes. Is this really what us crop of indies are making? And it shocked me. And I just felt I owe it to the rest of the community to share these numbers, because I really believe it's only through transparency, us as a community of indie filmmakers sharing our wins and our losses. That's the only way we can kind of all thrive forward.
But assume there are, some larger, more like mini major distributors where, these averages are different because they're on a different playing field. But, I'm not so sure anymore. Like it seems like it's really evening out across the board.
I think so. And, let me just start things off by dispelling a rumor that seems to be swirling. My channel, this video you just saw, is not sponsored by Big Pharma in order to push antidepressant meds. That's not who's behind this. It's coming from me to you, my gift to you. But yeah, it is kind of a downer. But I think it's an important pill to swallow, just to have a wake-up call when you are planning your filmmaking path, to do so in the smartest way possible, to utilize resources that will provide the biggest bang for your precious buck.
So I have kind of a challenging question, one that I get often when I start talking about numbers and stuff like that. People will say, well, like what do you know? You're talking about, some rinky-dink distributor or two rinky-dink distributors, and they don't know. This does not reflect the industry. Like, what would you say to that?
Well, first of all, what the heck is the industry in these days and time? I mean, I challenge anyone to define what the industry even is anymore. It's no longer one thing. It's it's fractured, and it means something to each different class of film and filmmaker. And yeah, I think we're in a pretty decent size band of filmmakers producing similar work. Yeah. So these numbers definitely correlate to our peers. But the other thing, I don't claim to know anything either. We're putting out content that resonates with us, and hopefully it'll land with an audience and will support this kind of creativity. But at the end of the day, the power is in the people's hands. But the exciting thing for us, more power now is in our hands. The whole distribution process has been democratized with FilmHUB and other similar services, where you're not at the, under the thumb of a distributor who's trying to charge you for expenses. This is what gets me. I know you see this too on some of the Facebook groups. These people asking, what do you know about Slimy Shark Distributor Inc.? Should I go with them? They're going to charge me expenses and they're not giving me enough MG. Oh my, really? Why are you even asking for anyone's take on distributors anymore? First of all, what expenses? What posters are they printing? What material are they putting out there? No, you shouldn't have any expenditures. At MG, give that dream up.
Right.
Getting MG, a minimum guarantee these days, you'd have probably a better chance of finding a nun working a weekend shift at Hooters than you would getting a dime from a distributor up front. So please, let's just drop those fantasies and get real here.
See, I 100% agree with you. The pushback that I get when I'm talking to filmmakers about this kind of stuff, is they'll say that, they'll challenge and say that we are settling, that we're not pushing far enough to get one of these better deals, that they do exist. Like there's a filmmaker here that's done probably half a dozen movies, like did fairly well back in, say, like late 2010, something like that. And then over the years, they've continued to put out movies, but they've made less and less and less. But yet they continue to go back to that same, like mini major distributor with all the fees, right. and they're making nothing.
I think that's, I hate to say it, but lazy thinking. Settling, relying on this playbook from 12 years ago. I mean, 12 years in these days and times, that's like 40 years. Yeah. So you really have to grab this, distribution bull, and it is a lot of bull, by the horns and ride it yourself. Create your own market, create your own audience. And like I mentioned in the video, you better, even before you hit record, start building an audience, build some enthusiasm for your film, start your email list so you have a bunch of hungry fans before it even drops that you can quickly go to and monetize once you have something to sell. And that's also good. Let's say you do want to try to score a bigger distribution deal and maybe get, $43 MG early on. They're more likely to do that if you show them, hey, look at this. I've got 100,000 Instagram followers. I've got, 58,000 Facebook followers. Now that you become more interesting. You become more of a revenue partner if you're bringing something to the table. Not just an MP4 file for them to trot out to all the usual suspects.
What's happened with your pictures since?
So happy you ask. And because I knew I was going to be on your show, I really wanted to pull out all the stops, spare no expense. And that's the big question. What has your film done since? Well, okay. Put your crash helmet on. Check out these screen sharing graphics. Oh my gosh. Did he really hit the 99-cent store before this show? I did, because I care about you, Jason. So let's review here. Like I showed you in the video, this is Q1. And at the time, these were the only numbers I had. And look at the progression, my excitement level. Q2, wow, that's looking good, right? You're getting excited. By Q3, we're seeing a nice uptick. And I'm thinking, oh my God, is it time to book the trip to Hawaii? Is Q4 going to push me over the edge and early retirement? Well, let's find out together. Okay, so the big question, Q4. And it's kind of impressive. See the jump? $274. Hey. 733. So that's a nice, I don't know what happened.
Honestly, that is a nice growth. And it actually goes counter to, a lot of logic that I have spewed forth on this channel, saying that usually your first 3 months are your biggest 3. Like we're starting to see that change. Sorry. I was going to say, when I first started, kind of doing self-distribution and really watching these numbers, I'd say about 4 years ago, it absolutely was true. I would see my biggest returns in the first 90 days. But over like the last, say, 2 years, that has shifted quite dramatically. Where, I had a couple of features I released 2 years ago that were making very similar numbers to what you're showing here, and in the last, like 6 months, popped up to 800 and 1,000.
Wow. Yeah. Now, don't you feel one reason early on we're not on as many platforms, and then as time progresses, we pop on to more revenue channels, and then our numbers go up. Now, let's kind of further distill this. Yeah. So annually, grand total of $533, 20 smackaroos. But then, is this even Retirement money? Well, to further break it down, this is paying my mortgage off by an extra $44.43 a month. So this is the picture of, you know, what a small indie documentary makes. So I don't know, success or bomb? I mean, you be the judge. But I did want to share something.
Yeah.
Give you a little sneak peek into a potential future video that I'm going to put together on my channel. And this is going to piss some people off, and I know that. Maybe it's by design, maybe it's the wake-up call some of us need. But all you true artisans, I need you to really hang on tight to your berets right now, because they may get ruffled. So this video I want to do is called Make Movies or Money? Smartest Use of Cash. And I wanted to break down some of my numbers, what I dropped on this little doc. And this is rough. Let's say I spent $25K on my doc, which that could be close.
You counting in like sweat equity?
No, I'm not. No, none of my time at all.
Okay, so you're just counting hard costs, about 25.
Because I was doing a lot of travel. The subject of my film, Wally Amos, creator of Famous Amos Cookies,
Right.
He lived in Hawaii. I know, poor me, having to make those tough trips to Honolulu. But that adds up, and I had to hire a really good legal team to clear a lot of the stuff in the film, a lot of archival material. So let's go with 25K. And you saw what I was making. What were my numbers? Okay, so
you did 500 for the year, basically.
553 for the year, and let's say 44 bucks a month. Okay, so about the same time, I dropped some money in this fund, and it's an equity fund that actually pays pretty good dividends. And I want to show you what 25 grand does for me currently in this fund. It's spitting out $27.60 a year. Okay. Now, when we further crack into this, that's $230 a month, or $690 a quarter, which I just shared my quarter. Now, to get these kind of payouts, what am I doing? Am I having to put together shot lists? Am I having to, try to find free music on YouTube? Am I having to go out, fly to Hawaii to shoot things, spend 300 hours editing? Am I having to do any of that to make this money? No. I just sit back and watch whatever new series Netflix is putting out and get fatter. So this is just another way to think of how you could put 25K to work for you. I'm not saying dump your camera and dump your dreams, but there are so many other ways if you're just really looking at make a yield. Oh, by the way, this is 11% cash on cash return. So let's say if you did raise a ton of money, why not put some of it aside in some investment vehicle that's guaranteed to spit out some passive cash for you that then you could roll back into your film. A lot of people, they park this money, let's say at B of A, and those generous givers at B of A and other financial institutions, I checked today. So this is, once again, 11% cash on cash annually. B of A today, filled with love and thinking what's best for us, they are paying out, I want to make sure I get this right because they deserve the truth, 0.001% a month.
Incredible.
So for 25K, you would be pulling down an impressive, this would even make a Kardashian maybe turn their head, $2.50 a year and a sweet 20 cents monthly. Wow. So are you going to put your money that you raised on a crowdfunding platform in a B of A account? No. There's some other online accounts that'll do you a little better, and they pay 6%. Excuse me, 0.6% a year. But that's at least gets you 150 a year.
Right.
So I'm not saying slice and dice your filmmaking dreams, but just think about other uses for precious dollars.
Yeah, and if you raise $30,000, think of investing some of that into something else, something more like stable to supplement the films. Basically, what you're getting at.
Exactly. And I
Yeah,
want to also, in this other video, break down just some of the other investment vehicles that I've used.
yeah. No,
To,
that would
to,
be a great video.
well, you know what? I'm
I
going to
would.
do it then for you.
Yeah, you should totally. I'll watch it. I actually, that's a really good. I'm sitting here thinking like, oh man, I just raised, $55,000. Why didn't I take 10 and put it into something? And I did. I mean, I'm completely like tied up in the budget at this point.
Yeah, you're swimming in numbers. And I mean, that was a
Yeah,
really impressive raise you guys did, because crowdfunding, that's a beast. That's a full-time job. I've never gotten anywhere of a
yeah, it's
place where
really
I brag
hard.
about, but you guys did it. So
Right.
congratulations.
Well, thank you. But again, looking at the numbers that you've raised, I mean, how does it not dissuade you from making more movies, or did it?
Oh yeah, I've become that refrigerator repairman because those numbers were really impressive on the trade school's website. Screw film.
Right. Right.
If your ice maker's leaky, just call Jeff. He'll fix you up. And I could shoot a nice 4K movie of slow-mo how I'm fixing it.
Right.
No, for any of us, I mean, we find projects that are passionate, that, our brain isn't short-circuited by our heart or the other way around. Stuff we're really motivated that needs to be made, and it doesn't matter if they're going to turn a profit. It's more important on turning a story, because I've always felt the shortest distance between truth and change are good stories. And as filmmakers, we really have that opportunity and responsibility. I mean, kind of piggybacking on that, this was kind of nutty, but less than 2 weeks after Russia invaded Ukraine, I thought, I bet there are a couple interesting stories to tell there. So I booked a ticket and flew into Krakow, drove to the border of Poland and Ukraine,
Wow.
and I got access to some of these refugee camps. And Jason, I tell you, it was one of the most profound trips of my life. The heartbreak was utterly palpable. As you can imagine, women and
Yeah.
children. So I didn't know what I was going really for. I didn't know what I was going to do with any of this, but I brought back so much kind of juicy material. So I cut together a short doc, and it's right now. I'm trying to work the film festival circuit, but I work with some of the local news channels here in LA, and they've been airing some of the pieces.
Oh,
But
wow.
those are the kind of stories that just they have to be told. I don't expect to make a dime off it.
Keep making movies.